Good morning. It's early.
Bam, we're live. It is early. Well, you know what it is I just got a crazy morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a crazy morning. It's I got to do some shit that's gonna take me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. I got you.
So I'm it's nothing major. It's my son has an infection. He got some antibiotics. Well, first we tried the holistic route.
Yep.
Then after a few days of that, then we tried antibiotics and they didn't work. And then we found out that they just it's a urinary tract infection. So they just did some tests on him and they're like, oh, he has a UTI. So they gave him antibiotics.
Uh,
And then basically they should have done something with the urine, like to double check something else, and they didn't.
got you.
So now I got to go back there, and I know he's bummed, and I know it's
Yeah.
stressing me and his mom out, and I'm just like, oh. And my wife's like, I'll take him, Don't worry. I'm like, no, I'm gonna take him. Like it's dick stuff. I need to take him. And I know that they're gonna be like, put a mask on, and I'm gonna fucking grab my ankles like a compliant little bitch because it's anything for my son.
Yeah.
So I'm
Got you.
just going through my
I got you.
through what's a perfect life, and then complaining because I got a splinter.
I know. Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, it's wrong. I should be cooler. Wait, let me see. Am I monetizing this shit? I should need to be making money off of Sherman.
Man, I'm gonna you're gonna pay me money every time you swear because your mom doesn't like you talking like that. I remember you told me that.
It's done. No more swearing.
It's done. Your mom doesn't like it. You told me. You told me that.
I told you that on the last show.
Yeah, I think so. You're like, my mom tells me to clean the language up. I was like, all right.
I had a handful of listeners tell me that they didn't like me. I'm not even going to say the phrases, but they're two popular phrases, and one of them has the word God in it, and the other one has his son's name in it, Jesus in it. And I would use those phrases a lot. And some of my listeners were like, "Hey, man, I really like you, but can you stop using those phrases?" I was like, "Sure, no problem." And people were like, "Hey, man, don't bow down to them." But it's not bowing down to them. It's an easy fix for me to do, and I like the challenge of the discipline. And I don't want to alienate people. Like if they were like, "Hey, shave your mustache. My religion doesn't like it. It's offensive." Like I would be like, "Hold on a minute," but like
Yeah.
I don't have to use those. I can make it. I can make an effort to make on some. This window's frozen. I can make an effort to make things more comfortable for other people. Wow, all my windows are frozen. That is so bizarre. Well, at least I see you. At least the main window is not frozen. Let me see. Oh shit! Wow. Oops, there goes another swear word. Ladies and gentlemen, Sherman Merricks with an S.
That's right.
I know Sherman. We're CrossFit buddies. Sherman owns Dynasty CrossFit in Gainesville, Florida,
Correct. Correct.
and he also owns another business in Gainesville. Although I think it's worldwide, right? You you
Yeah.
would
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
would work anywhere. It's
Yep.
called Lasso Frameworks.
Correct. Lasso framework. Correct.
He's very well known, maybe even most well known for the work he's done. Um, in the name of his podcast sums it up very well. Matrimonium Money podcast, and Sherman's a big believer in financial freedom.
Freedom. Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Freedom.
how old are you?
I'm 38, born in
Yeah, 38.
1983. Yep.
Yeah, and you have
Three
three
kids.
kids.
3 kids and one wife.
You still have a wife.
I do have a wife.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Some
Uh,
people the response to this thing they call SARS-CoV-2 has put stress. The societal response to that they're calling a pandemic has put a lot of stress on people's marriages.
no, not mine, man. It's been better. I've been able to spend more time with my wife and kids. It's been better. So,
You know
yeah.
what? I think I can say that too. I almost feel guilty saying that, like I'm showing off.
No, I don't, man. I mean, hey, like, I mean, I love my wife. I love my kids. I got to spend more time with them. It was definitely an adjustment. It's an adjustment when you're not used to working from home, then being at home all the time. So you have to come up with, boundaries and rules. But yeah, we love it. I don't. Yeah, I like it this way. I do.
Yeah, I definitely have used everything that's happened as an excuse to further go down the road that I wanted to go down with my kids.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so I was listening to this podcast you were on with these two guys. They're local guys in your hood, and basically it sounds like the premise of their podcast is to promote Gainesville businesses.
Oh, yeah, the Whoa podcast. Yeah, that's my buddy Colin. Yep.
And there was a lot of talk about keeping up with the Joneses
Yeah.
in that. And you know, that's really, I'm in either denial or that's a phenomenon I don't experience.
Yeah.
And so when I hear people talk about it, I'm totally I'm totally tripped out. But before I go there, what does that mean to be debt free? I know that sounds like maybe a dumb question to a
No,
lot of
no,
people,
no.
but I don't know what that means. What's that mean?
So there's two pieces of it. One is you could be consumer debt free. That's what most people really strive to. So no credit cards, no car notes, personal loans, none of that. And then the big one is when you have all of that, plus you also don't have a mortgage, right? So I'm at level 1 debt freedom. I don't have any loans or car notes, any of that. Now the next big one for me is no mortgage either, right? So I won't owe anyone a dime. So there's sort of two levels to it. And being so totally honest, some people really want to get to level 1 and they're totally fine with riding out their mortgage for, 15, 30 years, just paying it off slowly but surely. And then
Right.
there's some folks like me, like I want to get it done rather quickly. And like, I don't want to owe anyone, so that regardless of what happens, like I don't need a lot of money to survive. Right. Because I think that,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know, I think that, debt freedom at times in certain circles gets a bad name. But when we're talking about the average person needs to be debt free, right? We can always look at Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Oh, look what they do. But I mean, these guys are rock stars. Most people aren't rock stars. They just want to be. But I mean, you make, 70, 80, 100 grand a year. You're not really a rock star when it comes to finances, right? Like that's fine, but it's not, it's not billions and millions of dollars per year.
What about this? What about your you pay off one house,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you own a $500,000 house, and
Correct.
then you buy another house for that's like $250,000,
Gotcha.
or let's say the same value. Let's say it's no. Let's make it easy. Let's say it's another $500,000 house. Then, are you still and you buy it not to live in, but as a income property?
Yeah, investment property. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's say let's say it's great. You break even on it. After when the people pay the rent, you're able to pay the property tax and the mortgage and put away $300 a month just to take care of the house, right? A
Gotcha.
gardener, and if the roof goes, then are you considered debt free?
No. Well, no. So like not on not on the mortgage side, right? That's why I say there's two. I want to make sure. Like,
But isn't the value of the house cancel that out? So let's
no,
say you
no,
owe 420 on it, but you can sell it for 500. You're not debt free.
no, because what if? Okay, and I'm sort of going to play the other side of that.
Yeah,
What if
please,
you can
please.
sell it, right? Like you can sell it, but what if you can't sell it, right? Like what if you have, because everyone always talks about sort of like the ideal situation, right? Like everyone's like, well, if this and this cash flows this, but what about when it doesn't? Or some people, they have all these properties, and what about when the bank, because they call the loan and you can't pay it, they're going to come and take it, right? So it's not really yours. So for me, right, like I like to just not owe anyone. Now when it comes, like there's a lot of people that get into the investment stuff, and hey, we can, you can sort of play that game. Again, I don't like to owe anyone. um
Yeah.
if I get an investment property, it probably won't be a $500,000 one. It'll probably be more like a $200,000 one that I can save up for a few years and pay cash for, and then move on to the next one, right? Because again, like Buffett said, Warren Buffett, you can tell who's really skinny dipping when the tide goes out. So when things are good, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm cash flowing, like I'm cash flowing all of this and this and that." But when the market is bad, then you see these guys trying to sell properties. They don't have a lot of cash flow. They're jumping off buildings. They're leaving their wives and children because of this facade that everything was great when it was, but when it's not, like that's sort of the flip side to me. I don't like all of the risk. That's just me, right? I don't like all of the risk when it comes to certain things.
Boy, we could take this a million ways. Okay. I'm gonna jump here and tell me if this is too quick. You can always go back if you're like, hey, someone, I want to lay down some groundwork before I answer that question. Like if you think it will help people. If I'm jumping around too fast. At some point today, I want to talk about taxes. I want to talk about taxing the rich and what the government is, and taxing the rich versus taxing the poor. And because I'm a very firm believer of someone who is extremely poor and who was homeless, and probably some of the best days of my life, to be quite frank. I know that's hard for anyone to imagine because some people fear that, but there is a very strong similarity to being homeless and being very, very rich. You are very rich if you're homeless, if you're not a drug addict, and I was not a drug addict. A lot of people think that you should tax corporate America and you should tax rich people, and that's going to help. I think that me personally, they're hugely misguided, because I have had a lot of money, and I do have more money, I think, than most people now, even though I'm it's weird. I'm poor, but I'm richer than most people in this country. And when someone takes my money, it doesn't hurt anyone except people downstream from me, other civilians. So basically, you have a choice to get my money directly to you. Fuck it. Let's just talk about taxes. When the government taxes, when my taxes are low, I give my money to the people in my community, the businesses in Gainesville, Florida.
Yep.
Correct. When I stop at the gas station to fill up gas, and I have bank, I don't worry about how much I have, and I run in and buy a cantaloupe, maybe
Correct.
2. I don't care that I have to pay $1 extra more at the gas station. When my money's tight, I go to the cheaper gas station that doesn't have the store, and I stop at Safeway and I start buying those cantaloupes. Or maybe I don't even buy cantaloupe. Everyone just has to drink water today. Same with the gardener. So some classic examples. When I got fired from CrossFit, the first thing I did is I had the gardener come instead of every week, every other week.
Yep.
I didn't continue I canceled my SiriusXM membership.
Yeah.
I turned my computer off at night. The heat doesn't stay at 66; it goes down to 64. You know, I don't tip the kid at Starbucks anymore. I don't even go to Starbucks anymore.
Exactly.
So the only people being hurt are when I don't have money are my are the people around me. And I emphatically believe that when you tax the rich and you tax corporations, that's exactly what happens. That basically you have a choice. You can either let people have their money and they'll spend it. And there's this huge misconception of wasting money. I want to tell you 2 things. It is impossible to waste money, and it is impossible to waste time. These are lazy man's words. Unless you're burning money, it's not being wasted. It's out there. It's being circulated. You may think it's a waste for someone else to buy that Bentley, but when that person buys that Bentley, that money's not wasted. It's
No, it's definitely not wasted. When you buy
the guy who washes your car, who paints your car, it's all the people are getting paid.
The professional guy that does the leather on the inside, he's getting paid. The guy that's painting the car, like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's sort of a poor man's tale of, like for me, for someone to say, this person shouldn't have this if they've worked for it, they've honestly built up this cash. If we're talking about finances, you can't tell someone that they can't buy something, right? Like, it's all about relativity, right? Like it depends. You know, if I make $1 million a year, I can go out and afford to buy certain things that someone can't buy that makes 50 grand a year. And that's okay. Like, that's how the cookie crumbles. But I don't think a lot of people, like, they don't like that. They don't like that. Man, I'm working my butt off. My wife works. I work. We only make 60 grand a year. This guy over here, he has one job. His wife doesn't work, and he makes 600 grand a year. Like this isn't fair, right? Tax him more so that he doesn't have as much money. Like that's a bogus thing to me. I'm definitely against it. And again, where do we draw the line with the quote unquote the rich, right? Like it starts at, okay, well, this person that makes 500 grand a year, they're rich. But we all know, like, we know the government, right? Like, they want more money. So it starts at, okay, the families that make 500. Then a couple years later, well, now it's the families that make 450. And there's the families that make 400, and down the road now is any family that makes anything, you're going to be taxed at this big rate for no other reason than being successful, right? To me, that's what the whole tax the rich thing is. And yeah, I think it's a joke for like absolutely.
I have been in that tax bracket. And after you pay your 401k and give your portion to the government, your 500 is 250.
Absolutely.
It is crazy, people. I know some of you can be like, well, move the hell out of California. I'm telling you, they'll get you anywhere. They'll get you anywhere. So what is the solution? Why don't more people see that? Why do people think that like taxing the rich is going? Is it all just on that, based on that one phenomenon, that they're upset, that they think it's not fair, and that they think we can get the problem also is that when you tax the rich, you have to understand, people, you don't get that money. Are you just doing it just to be mean to them? Because the government gets that money. And who is the government? That's the homecoming king and homecoming queen. Those are people who just won the popularity contest that we voted into power. You can trust rich people and let them pay directly to you, or you can give it to the government. They can take their cut and then decide where the money is spent. It's the whole thing seems so obvious to me.
It seems obvious to me as well, but I think that's sort of, like the government, they've done a good job of, that whole fair share thing. Like, I mean, let's be real. If we really jump into it, like what's a fair share, right? Like if I make $1 million a year, I'm going to be taxed at, if I can get the things right, I'm going to be taxed at say 25%, right? Okay. So 250 grand I'm paying in taxes. You find someone that's making 50 grand a year. How much are they paying in taxes? Whatever it is.
Right.
I feel the person that's paid 250 grand, like that is more than a fair share, even though they've figured out ways, they've paid accountants and lawyers to get that tax rate down. They've already paid their fair share, right? So it's not like, like the whole thing blows my mind that all these people are talking about a fair share, right? Like there's no fair, there's no a fair share. There's not a fair level of effort in anything, right? Like the person, I think a lot of people, it makes them feel better because it lets them feel like, okay, this person has become uber successful because of their mom, their dad, they got lucky, this and that. For me, when I see someone uber successful, I say, well, if they can do it, I can do it, right? I'm going to figure it out. And for like, I tell everyone, I want my kids, I know you feel the same way up all of your boys. You want your kid to have every advantage possible. That is why I wake up in the morning. That is why I work my butt off. That is why I do all these things, so that one day, like I was raised by a single mom, all of that stuff in the project, low income. I don't want my kids to deal with that. I want my kids and my grandkids to have a leg up on everyone else. So I'm willing to make that sacrifice for them. People say that like it's a bad thing. Oh, look at the Walton kids or the Rockefellers or the Kennedys. They only do this because of such a, that is the goal of this. Like that's the goal of this generational wealth thing, right? Like that's the goal of it. I don't want my kids to have the same struggle that I had. I don't want my kids to have to pay off $203,000, right? I don't want them to have to do that. I want my kids to be able to invest $203,000 in a short amount of time, right? So yeah,
isn't that interesting? It's a trip what you said, because it comes down to the heart of, I guess, what it means to be a parent. If you can offer your kid more than what your mom could offer you, Sherman, then you have to insert your own controlled struggle. By that I mean, if your kid doesn't have to walk 5 miles to school, that means that you have to walk your kid 5 miles a day. And then you have to figure out how to do it. It doesn't mean, and correct me if you disagree with me, I'm open to this. It doesn't mean that your kid doesn't walk 5 miles a day. It doesn't mean that, here's the thing that's trippy. Sherman wants his kids to have all the struggles he did, but he wants it to be in an environment that's safe.
Correct.
We want our kids to have, well, I want my kid to fall down. I don't want him to fall down in a neighborhood where he has to worry about falling on a needle.
Correct. Correct.
But
Correct.
you know, I want him to learn about needles and the dangers of needles, but on his own terms, not when he's 4 and every time we go to the fucking park, I got to be like, oh shit, those guys are shooting up over there. I guess we're gonna switch parks.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%.
But they have to struggle.
They like they're so like that's the thing, right? Like I agree. I think like I put the onus on me. Like we homeschool our kids, the government, teachers. There's nothing wrong with them schooling kids. That's totally fine. I don't think that anyone can do a better job at teaching my kids at the, at the grade school level than my wife and I can. I feel that we're smarter than blah, 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 all of that. And so that's why we homeschool our kids, because I want them to know things that are going to help them long-term down the road, right? I'm not anti-public school or anti-private school. Our kids used to go to private school. Maybe they'll go back one day. But right now, we homeschool our kids because I feel that we are the best educators for them, to have them prepared for life and everything that we want to instill in them moving forward,
Do you think I'm ass backwards? Because I homeschool my kids, not because I think I can do a better job than them, but because of what they're teaching.
No, I mean, that was a piece of it.
They're teaching stuff that's a lie.
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of it too. Absolutely.
Like I don't want to have to I don't want my kids at like 20 to be like now I am at 49, like, holy shit, how did you let them teach me this?
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like not only is it not true, you made it part of my identity.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You're like, I know so many, like I know a ton of homeschool families because I'm in that circle, and most of them are doing it because they don't want their kids to learn, all the stuff. Like they don't want their kids to learn that, just point blank.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want being exposed to that. And I was just like, yeah, like it's different because when we were going to school, I mean, you got to freaking do your math, your reading, and you try to hang out with your friends and have a good time and eat lunch, and that's pretty much it. Now there's just so much going on, and again, I think that
my kids can't wear masks either. Like under my watch, they just can't.
Yeah,
they just can't.
Yeah, I get that. I just can't.
I just can't. This guy says in the comments, "Oh shit, I really am. My computer doesn't work." Caleb, do you have access to the comments, brother?
Oh, look, I do too. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Oh, could you Darth Bane, if you make $150,000 a year, could you throw up that comment? Sorry, dude. I need to refresh my computer after this podcast. My mouse isn't working. If you make $150,000 to $200,000 and have 2 or 3 kids, you aren't rich these days, but the taxes are higher. So in my neighborhood, and I live in a neighborhood where it's not fancy at all. Like people who make half as much money as me in Oklahoma live 10 times as good. In my neighborhood, if you make $120,000 or less and you have 2 kids, you're below poverty line.
Yeah.
You're below poverty line. What does that mean? That means that $120,000 a year you can afford. You and your wife are going to share one Honda Civic. You're going to be in a house where your kids, it's going to be a 2-bedroom apartment, and your kids are going to share a bedroom. And it's not nice. You're going to have mice. You're going to have rats. You're going to have a lot of homeless people. And I live outside the big city. I mean, I live 20 miles from Silicon Valley, down a treacherous highway where not a lot of people come. I'm in Santa Cruz, California. Yeah. So 150 is, I guess maybe some places that is good money. Is that good? Is 150 good money in Gainesville?
Yeah. It is. 150 grand is good money. Like Darth Bane said, I think like I have great mentors. Like I have guys and girls that's always helped me. And like, there's definitely, when you start making between $200,000 and $500,000 per year, that's sort of like a bad spot to be. Now, I want to make sure I clarify this. Tax-wise, it's a bad spot to be because a lot of times when you make 200 to 500, you have a ton of taxes you have to pay because you don't have a lot of assets, right? Because you don't make enough money to buy a ton of assets to get your tax rate that much lower. So that's sort of like no man's land where you need to either stay a little bit below 200 or you need to get over 500 so that you can buy certain things that can lower your taxes and stuff like that. But so many people don't understand this because, again, we aren't taught taxes and all of this stuff. So it's just, oh, look, this dude makes 400 grand a year. Like, he should be killing it. This dude decides to buy him a nice Mercedes. So, like, oh, look, he's killing. He got a nice home, a nice Mercedes. But again, we know just based on the data, most Americans are only 2 or 3 months away from pure financial ruin, right?
How do those people sleep at night?
Hey, listen, I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm so big on debt freedom, like emphasis on the freedom, Savon, because for me, I want to be able to know, like, hey, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be fine for, a extended period of time. Like I tell people, 6 to 12 month emergency fund. Yes, it may be hard for you to get. Yes, you may have to get 2 jobs. Yes, your wife may have to work for a little while for you guys to pay off your debt and save up this emergency fund. But the emergency fund, like J.L. Collins talks about, like it's sort of like FU money, right? Like you would like that, right? Like it's FU money because you can say, hey, FU, I'm going to go figure some things out. And I tell most folks, think about it. I had this play out in one of my good friends' life, real life. He's big on the debt freedom as well. He has 5 or 6 kids.
Oh, man.
He has 5 or 6 kids. Listen to this. He has 5 or 6 kids, but he was big on the debt freedom emergency fund. He had a 6-7 month emergency fund. He got fired out of the blue. He had been in this company for years, fired out of the blue, totally blindsided him. However, he had a 7-month emergency fund. So it was a big inconvenience. The feelings were a little hurt because he was like, I didn't see this coming. I thought we were on. But when he got fired, he actually took the first month just to sit back and say, man, let me enjoy some of this time with my family. Let me figure out what the next move is. And then 2 months later, he ended up getting another job, better job. But he was only able to do that because he was able to set himself up beforehand where he had 6-7 months of living expenses where there was no freaking out, right? Imagine this man with 6 kids loses his job. He doesn't have anything like most people. I mean, he's bagging groceries at Publix and driving Uber Eats. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. I want to be clear, but it's a totally different lifestyle and it's a totally different mindset for him if he has to do that type of stuff. So that's why for me, I get into a lot of back and forth on the internet because some people are, you're old school. Those principles are played out. Yeah, like it's played out until you get punched in the face, right? And everyone, like no one thinks they're going to get punched in the face. And we know that, in everyone's life time, there's going to be 3 or 4 major financial things that's going to happen to you. If you're not ready for it, like that could change the trajectory of your life. So I tell everyone, 6 to 12 month emergency fund is a must. It's a must.
I was my wife and I were both fired on the exact same day. Wow. From CrossFit Inc. Yeah. Yeah. Both hyper productive people. I don't want to speak for my wife, but no one in my department produced more than me. I'm open to someone saying that they worked equally as hard as me, but no one worked harder than me. Yep. And it sort of came out of left field because I'd been promised that it wouldn't happen. And my wife and I are both fired on the same day. And there's 2 things on it. There's a relationship piece here and then the financial thing. I had 12 months of mortgage saved.
Yep.
And I was still terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know I'm incapable of working. I'm incapable of doing something that I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I shouldn't say I'm incapable of it. I'm really a fucking whiny bitch if I have to do something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm borderline unemployable. I'm a fucking Rain Man. And but I knew, but I always lived within my means. And my coworkers, and then so that's one thing. And then the second thing is within a week, my wife and I basically, it's like dropping a bomb on you, because when you work somewhere like CrossFit Inc. for 15 years and you've given your whole life to it, when you lose your job, you lose a huge chunk of your identity.
I bet, for sure.
You kind of feel like a balloon and someone let go of you, a helium balloon. You're like, whoa, what? You kind of just, it's not even bad or good. You're just kind of like in the ether.
Yeah.
And you can't hang out there when you got kids. Like you can't be like, hey, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. Like I've done that before. That's how I ended up being homeless. I'm like, okay, I'll just wait and see what happens. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm homeless.
Yeah.
So we had saved 12 months of mortgage. And then I said to my wife after about a week or two, I said, hey, going to generational wealth, there's under no circumstances do I want to lose any of our assets. How do you feel if shit gets really weird that we just move the family into a van and rent out our house so that we don't lose the house? She goes, oh yeah, whatever you want, I'm game. And like the fucking weight of the world fell off my back.
Yep.
I was free.
Yep.
I was free to accept now my next role. Like I was like, oh shit, my partner's got my back.
Yep.
And then you immediately have to do stuff. You got to cancel the Sirius XM. You have to quit drinking coffee out. You have to quit drinking alcohol. Alcohol is a complete, sorry, Sherman, sorry, Mom, fucking waste of money. Complete waste of money. If you're worried about money and you're drinking alcohol, you're not even at step one. Sherman's a little nicer than I am on his podcast. He gives people a little wiggle room. But maybe those are people who don't have kids. When you have kids, there's no wiggle room. It's I need to see as much runway as I can. And then the people I worked with, Sherman, who under the same circumstances, they were using their 401ks to buy stuff. I knew that if you have a mortgage and you can pay well, what do you think about this? I was paying my mortgage twice a month. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine.
And I had a car. I bought the only brand new car I've ever bought in my life was a $50,000 brand new Sienna. And I fell into the exact trap that Sherman talks about. My wife had twins and I was like, I need the best car possible to shepherd these 3 children and so they can be safe. Yeah. So I bought the first and I had my mommy go with me. Who had like a 820 on her credit. So we got it. Here I am at 46 years old. I had my mommy go with me and she signed for me and we bought a brand new $50,000 minivan. I put $20,000 down and I got a $30,000 no interest loan. And I paid $1,000 a month on it. And everyone's like, smart people were like, hey, don't do that. It's 0 interest.
Yeah. Yep.
So glad it's paid off, dude.
Paid
it off. Paid my first house off and my car off the same month I got fired.
That's great. That's great.
Sherman says this thing when you pay your home off, it's like getting a raise. And so here's another thing I'll tell you my wife and I did. We were living in a home where the mortgage was $1,100 a month, but we could rent the home for $4,000 a month. And even though money wasn't tight for us and we were great, we moved out of the house.
Yeah.
It's financially irresponsible to live in a home that you can make $3,000 a month on. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of this thing, Savon. Like when you don't owe a ton of people money, you have the freedom to do stuff like that. Right? Like
even if it meant moving into a shittier house, having cash is king.
But like you don't care about, but here's the thing, you don't care about what such a Jim down the road thinks that you're moving out of your house and then you're moving to a crappy house and someone is renting out your house. You don't care about that. But I'm gonna tell you, like I deal with enough people, like it matters what people think, right? It matters. That's what we talk about keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's this, and I will say social media has ruined us, right? Because on social media, everyone only talks about like the highs, right? Like it's the highlight reel, right? So if I only watch game film highlights of LeBron James, I'm gonna say LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world. Because I'm only seeing his highlights, which he may be like that was a bad example using him. But if you look at social media and you only see, Susie down the road's highlight reel, I'm like, Susie's killing it. She just bought a new house and got a new car. Look, she's on vacation. Look at her kids. They're matching. They're so cute. And then when Susie loses her job, now Susie's, working at Target. There's nothing wrong with working at Target, but Susie was a C-suite executive 3 months ago. Now she's working at Target. And
I've seen it.
Like, yeah, but that's the thing. So many people haven't seen it, so they just think like that's not going to happen or that doesn't really happen. But it happens all the time. Like I talk to so many people offline because most people don't want to put their garbage out there on social media. I talk to so many people offline that like they just say, man, thank you. I wish I would have learned stuff like this. This is what happened to me. Like it sucked. You're telling people the right thing. And I'm just like, I just want to help people, right? Like I grew up with nothing. And to have what we have now at only 38, it's cool. But like, I don't want people to just continually stay in the rat race until they're 49, 59 years old. Like I have a great, like, one of my best friends. He's a physician. And we talk pretty much every day. We talk about everything. And there are a ton of physicians that work for 30, 40 years, right? They make anywhere from 200 to $1 million a year, and they can't retire. That's why you see some, not all, you see some physicians that are 75, 80 years old still working 5, 6 days a week. It's not because they love the profession of medicine. It's because they have to keep that income coming, right? They got to keep up that level of lifestyle. And they haven't set aside enough money over the years. And that's the way it is with most people, man. Most people, they only think about this year. They're not thinking about 20, 30 years down the road, like what this is going to look like. And I wish just more people would think long term, because if you do, like, you outside of a big disaster, you're going to live to see 50, 60, 70 years old. Now, what is your life going to look like? And please don't tell me you're going to depend on the government to take care of you, because that's a sucker's bet right there.
I'm horrible with money, and I don't look down the road. Mine's all fear-based.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would never go on a vacation. I never, I like the thought vacations. When I hear people say vacation, like, my wife doesn't have a wedding ring. We didn't have a wedding. Like, that's all, to me, that's crazy talk.
Yeah.
$10,000 on a wedding ring. I could put that in the bank now, like I did for my 3 boys. And when they're 77, they're going to have $11 million each.
Yeah.
$10,000 when they're 7. Cause I'm looking at my mom now and I'm like, man, if I could give my mom 11 million bucks right now, that'd be awesome. So then when my kids were born, I was like, okay, great. I'm going to put 10,000 in the account. I'm going to make sure they all get whatever it takes. I'm going to get 10,000 in this account for them. This, what are they called? It's the kind of stuff you sign up with Vanguard, or it's basically they double every 7 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Why would I buy my wife a wedding? And I know some people are like, well, you got to do some things. I just don't. I have a dear friend of mine who recently was like, hey, he's been telling me for 2 years to come visit him. And I said, I'm like, hey, I can't visit you because I don't want to spend a fucking dime to do anything that's out of my circle. So after 2 years, he sent his jet to come pick me up and took me to his house, and he paid for everything for the week. I was like, well, thank you.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. And it was the best vacation I've had in my entire life, but it didn't cost me a dime. And I was okay if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
My life's good. I do not need a vacation. My life, Gandhi said this thing, you can't separate religion and state because your life is your religion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean by that? Your life is your religion. Yeah. Just like how I treat you, how I brush my hair, how I brush my teeth, how I get dressed in the morning, how I talk to my gardener, how I talk to my dog. It's all my religion.
Yeah.
And it's all my life. I can't compartmentalize that shit.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Some people try to. You can't. No, I mean, you really can't. So here's the thing. There, I think that we deal with these finances, you have to know what's really important to you, and then you have to put your life around that, right? Like me, vehicles aren't important to me. Yes, I like cars, but they're just not important to me, right? So I drive a crappy car. My wife has a nice van that we bought, but like me, it's just not important to me.
And isn't it more important to you that your wife drive a nicer car, that your wife's happy? Like, that's part of your happiness, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But here's the thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with, like, if I did like cars, I can afford to go buy me a $50,000 car, and that's nothing wrong with that. Me, I like to vacation. I'm glad you said that. So for me, like, I would rather, hey, I'm not going to spend money on a ton of things. I'm going to invest in all this. But when it's my turn, it's going to be 2 or 3 times per year. I'm going to take a nice vacation. That's what I'm going to spend my money on. Like, I'm not going.
You know how to enjoy it.
Yeah. But so many people, they want to do they want to have everything, and they don't make enough money to have everything, right? You can't have the nice car, nice home, nice vacation, nice this on a $60,000 a year salary. Well, you can just call credit, and then, we know how that goes. Long term, it just doesn't work out.
Most of my happiness comes from stuff that I don't even realize it's coming from. It's like behind the scenes stuff. So by that, I mean, not having to worry about the price of gas. Like, you know, when you're 16 and you're like, okay, I have $3.85 and I'm going to try to get, oh shit, I put in 386. And now you're looking under the mat for a penny to pay the guy. And it's just a mess. Right. Or you want to eat an avocado and it's $2.99 and you have to stress about the price of the avocado. Like for me, that's where I get my freedom.
Well, it's funny you say that because I didn't even notice this. Just, you know, like that's the way I grew up, right? You go to the grocery store, you already know me and my sister going to my mom, hey, don't ask for anything. We got at times they're on government assistance. There's not a lot of money. So like don't go in here saying, oh, I want this or trying to pick up stuff. Don't do that.
Right.
But then like this just happened, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. Like my mom, she comes up to visit, we're in the grocery store, and I'm just shopping, right? Like I'm just getting stuff, I'm getting what I want. I don't look at prices when I grocery shop. Like I'm grocery shopping at the best grocery store in the world, Publix. We'll talk about that later. We're in there shopping, and my mom said, "Are you not looking at prices?" And like it was the first time in my life I realized, no, like why would I look at price? I have to buy groceries. The prices don't matter. But like it was about 4 years ago, I realized, man, life is starting to get pretty good. You know,
yeah, you made it. Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, like it had nothing to do with how much money I had in an investment account or anything like that. It was just like, no, like I don't have to look at prices of groceries. I'm just buying groceries for me and my family. Like, get what you want, kids. You know, don't ask for too much. I'm not going to buy you all the candy, but it's totally fine.
And by the way, do you see if you overtax Sherman, he won't be able to spend that money at Publix. Sherman, when I was homeless, I got a job that paid $7 an hour, and I was fucking rich. I could go in and buy a coffee, and instead of stealing cream from them and pouring a whole cup full of cream to get calories and drink it, I was tipping the cashier.
Yeah.
Because I was making $7 an hour, still homeless, but I was balling, right? $100 in my pocket, drinking lattes, tipping the guy behind the counter $1. I mean, it's all relative.
It is. It's all relative. I agree. But you said something earlier. I want to talk about. Please. You said that you don't really understand or you don't see it, the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing.
Yeah. Like people make fun of my minivan, and I'm like, so I almost am like, I welcome that.
Yeah. No,
like my minivan's the shit.
Like, and I think you're like me, you know, like we're sort of outsiders for the most part, right? There's some people wired like us, but most people, man, you know, when you go to wherever you go, your social spots, and you see this person doing this, or they're talking about what they're doing this weekend, or look, this family is going on a Christmas trip, and look, they got matching pajamas on social media. Why didn't we do that? Like, that's the stuff that really drives most people. It's not that they really want it, but they want to portray it because they know 17 other families are going to post pictures with pajamas on, and they're gonna go on some type of vacation over Christmas break. And it's not that they necessarily want to do it, but that's just what we do because that's the lifestyle we live. And
yeah.
I think that crushes people long term, man. I really do.
What do you think about super unleaded versus regular unleaded?
I put regular unleaded in my car. I have a 2003 Toyota Camry with 270,000 miles on it. It's only getting regular gas, regular unleaded. That's all it's getting.
So one of my close friends just set me free. My whole life I've only put in super unleaded, and about a month ago, one of my friends set me free. He's like, hey, just out of the blue, he goes, hey, he didn't know I put in super unleaded. He's like, hey, you know the whole gas thing is a scam, right? I'm like, what? And the gas at my house is $5 a gallon for regular and $5.50 for super. So but maybe when you say that, I was a little pretentious about putting in the super unleaded. I think yesterday I was at the gas station and I hit the unleaded button real quick so no one would see me do it. Even though there's no one within 100 feet of me. I'm like, no one better see me put in the regular unleaded. Holy shit.
Oh,
am I turning red?
I don't doubt it. But look, here's the thing though, right? Like, you know, like you're aware enough and like you actually say it, man, look, you know, there's still a piece of me. Like one of my buddies years ago, he was going through a
Yeah,
tough.
I don't want that shit gas in my car, and I don't want anyone to see me buying this shit gas.
Exactly. One of my buddies, he was going through a tough spot financially years ago. So him and his wife decided, hey, we're going to do sort of the Dave Ramsey thing, cash-based everything. And one of his biggest struggles was, believe it or not, was actually taking his hard-earned money in cash into the gas station to pay for it instead of just flipping in his card. He absolutely despised it. And to me, I'm just like, bro, like it doesn't matter if you're paying with cash or a card, is money that you've earned and you put gas in the car. But to him,
why he thought, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, he just thought like, I don't know. He just like, it's like, why would I go in? Why can't I just slide my card? I got to walk
like
in.
Someone would judge him that he didn't have a credit card.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never even thought of that. Everyone ignore that. Don't let that seep into your brain. Holy shit.
But that's the thing though. Like it's little stuff.
It's
like
real
that.
though. It's real. I get it. It's real.
Exactly. Like it's real everywhere. It's just like, man, if we don't take this trip, you know, people are gonna notice we haven't gone on a vacation in a long time. So, honey, like we got to take this trip, honey. We don't have the money. It doesn't matter, right? Well, we need to get a new credit card to do it because like we need to do this and take these pictures and get them on social media. And like this is a real thing that no one really likes to talk about, but I know for a fact that like it's happening every single day. Every single day.
You paid off your house?
No,
recently?
No, I paid off my mainly student loans, mainly.
Is that what the $203,000 post was?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So I basically went to a private graduate school. And I'm going to tell you again, I'm going to tell you how messed up my mind was. So I went to private grad school, private undergrad.
Damn, your family's beautiful, dude.
Thank you. That's my wife, Christina, my oldest son, Caden, my youngest son, Judah, and my daughter, Ariana. So
how old are the kids?
13, 10, and 8.
Dude, Caden's as tall as your wife already.
I know. I think he's going to be tall. Christina's dad and them, they're tall. So I think Caden's going to be taller than me.
Wait, her dad's tall? Aren't Puerto Ricans like just little tiny people?
Some of them. Her dad's not. Her dad's about 6'3". So.
Oh shit.
And so are her brothers. So I think Caden got lucky. I think he's going to be sort of tall. So.
Yeah, that's a big 13-year-old.
So we went to so I went to private grad school, and when I got out of school, Savon, I'm going to be totally honest, I was pissed off. And let me tell you why. Because I went to undergrad, grad school. I did all the right things. Like they had been telling me for years since I was a little boy that if you go to college and you go to grad school, like everything is going to be okay. And then when I get out of school, I realized that, yeah, okay, but I'm making 40 grand a year and I got these degrees here. What's the point of that? So I'm like, I'm not freaking paying these people back. I'm not paying back all this money. So for years, I just let it sit there. I would defer it. I wouldn't answer the phone calls when they would call me. And then I would pay them like just say $200 or $300 a month, just enough to keep them off my back, right?
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, it's just I was talking to my wife, and we were on vacation actually visiting some good friends. Actually, one of my friends commented on here. I saw it, David 𝐒𝐲𝐿. We were visiting them, and we were going somewhere, and they called me on vacation. And for some reason, that just rubbed me so, like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was just like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it. I was like, I'm gonna pay these folks off. So now this been what? I graduated college in 2005, so a couple of years ago. So it had been 14, 15 years or whatever of just sitting there, me paying $300 a month, interest accruing. And when I looked, it was about 180, 85 grand I had to pay.
God, so much money.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling? So now I'm just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna do it. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it at the time, and I want to be careful when I say only. I was only making about 100 grand a year, so I was like, well, like how is it gonna work? Like,
yeah,
I mean, and that's pre-tax. So
yeah,
so I'm just like, how's it gonna work? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna I'm gonna be obedient to God because that's what I felt like, and I'm gonna make it work. And fast.
What do you mean by that? Obedient to God? Is there something in there you have to pay off your debt?
Well, for me, I just feel like God, I have a relationship with God, consider myself, a godly man. So I just feel like, God had been telling me for a little while, hey, you need to pay off these debts, mainly the student loan. That's really the main thing. But piece of me, I was just so angry, man. Like I would just put that in a corner, just that's the good debt. You don't have to worry about it. And then when I was on vacation, it just stuck out to him, and I was just like, I got to do it. But I was like, how am I
why
going to
is
do it?
this shit interfering with my life? Here I am with my family. I'm in total bliss. And basically now they're stealing some of my vacation from me. I paid $5,000 for this vacation, and now these motherfuckers are here. Hello,
man.
My
wife would tell you. She would tell you just like out of the blue over the years. I would just get pissed. She's like, "Why are you so mad?" It's mainly when they would call or something. I get an email. I was like, because I shouldn't have to pay this back. Like that was my mindset. I shouldn't have to pay this back for loans that I took out. Right? Like no one put a gun to my head and said, "Sign this promissory note." And so then when it happened, I was just like, "All right, I'm going to pay it off." And we started paying it off, and then we started another company. And then everything just started rolling. Fast forward 27 months later, we pay off $203,000. I really didn't. I didn't think it would be possible that fast, right? But I had committed to doing whatever it took, right? So I knew no matter what, like once I put my mind to something, it's gonna happen, right? Like that's just how I am. So 27 months later, paid off $203,000, and now I can't tell you how much lighter and better I feel just even waking up in the morning. Like it's a beautiful thing. I tell everyone, become debt free, man. Like if you don't like being debt free, it's totally fine. You can always get more debt, but until you've really felt it, I'm gonna tell you, like there's nothing like it. The freedom.
I heard this public speaker one time who was trying to sell Get Rich DVDs, and I went to I was actually making a documentary about this guy who went to go listen to this Get Rich guy speak, and it was a free 3-hour lecture, and then afterwards you give him $1,000 and buy the DVDs, right? If you like the course, like what he said. And one of the things he said in there was, I'm not a God guy. I'm not a religious guy.
Yep.
I'm just a heathen walking the planet. But he said this, and I knew it was true when he said it. He said, if you resent rich people, if you resent the guy who drives by in the Lamborghini, God will make sure you never have one of those, and you will never be rich, because God is the all-giving God, and who only gives people what they want. And I was like, and so if you resent it, he'll never give it to you, because he doesn't want you to have something, resent yourself.
Yeah.
And being raised in the Bay Area, there was a certain resentment for rich people and people who had more. And even though we had an abundance, right?
Yeah.
And at that moment I flipped the script. I told myself that I'm going to be humble enough that every time I see a penny on the ground, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to say, I'm a money magnet. And I'm always going to be appreciative of other people's wealth. I'm going to fake it till I make it, and I'm going to be happy for them. And dude, Sherman, it's just like what you said. When you made the decision to pay that back, when in your mindset changed, you started actually making more money too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A boatload.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. My whole life since that moment, I was in New York City when I made that decision. Since that moment, my whole life just took off.
Yep.
I don't feel guilty for anything I have. I'm appreciative of everything that everyone else has. I try to be good to the good people. What do I mean, the good people? Like the guy playing the violin, the guy selling hot dogs, not the guy begging for money. That's not my thing to give money to beggars. Yeah. But the guy on the corner, like washing my window, he's doing something. He's participating in the betterment of humanity. Like I'll tip who I want to tip,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, is that when you started Lasso?
I started Lasso about 2 or 3 months after I made that decision to like pay it off. Yeah, so around the same time, like pretty much around the same time.
How is? Tell me what Lasso is, and why did you choose it? Why do you have a partner? Do you have a partner in your CrossFit gym?
No, just me and my wife. Nope.
Okay, so why do you have a partner in Lasso?
So my partner.
And what is Lasso for starters?
Yeah. So Lasso framework. So Lasso stands for Lead and Sales System Optimization, right? So basically, my partner, his name is Blake. Both of us, I still have my gym. He recently sold his 2 CrossFit gyms, but we used to be mentors for one of the big CrossFit mentoring companies, right?
Right.
And we parted ways for various reasons. And then we decided, hey, we're going to do our thing, right? He was sort of the marketing guy. I was sort of the sales and marketing guy. So we went, man, we can do this. Like, we can do this piece of it better than anyone else. And we focus on helping primarily gyms get out in front of people with paid social media marketing and their sales process and websites and stuff like that. So that's really what we do day in and day out. It's funny because just the other day I posted something in one of those affiliate owner groups online, because so many people, they like to say, well, you know, there's a lot of failed gym owners getting into the, you know, that turn into gurus, right? And I was like, I get that. But I posted something with my prices and my rates and, you know, how my gym was doing, just to show folks, hey, like, don't fall into that trap of, you know, just talking bad about people because you don't like when other people start stuff, because my gym is still doing, like, my gym is doing great. And I didn't start Lasso because I, quote unquote, needed the money. I started Lasso because there's a need that I know that we could fill, and we fill it, and we do a great job at it. But yeah, so my partner Blake and I, we started Lasso a little bit over 2 years ago now. And it's been great. It's been phenomenal, man. We're getting to help a lot of gyms and meet a lot of people and things like that, and get to really, for me, the freedom that we have with Lasso, really, you know, it's our first time really having a sort of a digital company, right? Because everything that we do, we can do it from anywhere, which is totally different from owning a CrossFit gym, right? Most guys that own a CrossFit gym, you're stuck in the trenches for years if you ever even get out. So this company is definitely a huge blessing to us, and we love it, and we're getting to help a lot of people, man. It's fun.
Can you give me an example? I want to go back to being stuck in the trenches for a second. I want to come back to that because it is really important to spend part of your life definitely stuck in the trenches. But give me an example of what you guys do. Like, who reaches out to you?
Yeah. So
Like could my podcast reach out to you and be like, hey, Sherman, we've been just stuck at 100,000 downloads a week. What can we do to, like, take us to the next level?
Yeah. Yep. You could. And
by the way, we're not stuck. We're fucking sorry. God, I need to stop swearing. We are murdering it. We are doing fantastic. But go on.
But so, like, what happens a lot of times, gyms will reach out and be like, you know, like,
it has to be a gym. That's your specialty, gyms?
No, I would say that 80% of our clients are gyms. So I'm just going to talk about gyms because that's most of our clients. They reach out and they will say, hey, like, you know, we've tried some social media before, but we hear good things about you guys. Like, what do you do? Then we sort of tell them, hey, like, we're going to get you in front of more people. This is going to be, you know, sort of some cold traffic and stuff like that. And then we talk about the sales process, and we want to make sure that they're a good fit before we really sign them on, right? Because here's the thing, as you know, in the CrossFit community, right, the affiliate owners are different, right? Like, it's different than, like, most businesses understand, I can't spend $1 today and think that dollar is going to turn into $1 the next day. But affiliate owners, for the most part, they're like, hey, I need an ROI in 24 hours, right? Like, so we want to make sure they're going to be a great fit for us, so we can get them that quick ROI, because, you know, namesake is everything in this little small community that we're doing most of our business in. So when they come to us, we want to make sure they're a good fit. We show them what we can do. They've heard about some testimonials. That's how most people reach out. They knew someone that knew someone or something like that. And then we go from there. And we've been able to help some gyms really do some cool things because they were stuck, you know, like when Greg really was in charge of CrossFit back in the day, like when we first started, like, it was Fight Club. It was underground, right? Like, there was no marketing. Like, we're doing this, like, hey, we'll let you come over, and if you survive, you tell us if you want in or not. Like, that's our marketing. Right. But now, like, it's totally different, right? It's totally different, right? Like, there's Orange Theories and Eat the Frogs and, like, all of that stuff. And if we're not out there in front of folks like they are, like, the affiliate community will be drowned out in 5 to 7 years. And it's not because our product isn't better. It's because people will know about us, but we won't stay front of mind, right? All these other guys, right, that spend a ton of these marketing, they'll stay front of mind, and then they'll be the ones eating for the most part, for lack of a better term. So that's what we're really trying to do, trying to help the affiliate community stay in front of folks, and have an opportunity to help these people that would probably do something else and be frustrated with, right? Because there's no, I strongly believe there's no better fitness regimen out there on the planet than CrossFit.
Why do you have a partner? Why didn't you do Lasso by yourself?
Honestly, me and him, we just we left the company at the same time. We vibe very well, and we just said, man, we can do this thing together. And this is my first time ever really having a partner. I was a little hesitant because I had heard horror stories. About
Yeah. That's what I just think horror stories.
Yeah, like I heard, but then I had a few friends that no, it can work if you lay ground rules down and blah blah blah. And I really like Blake's personality, work ethic, all that stuff. Like, man, let's give it a try. We wrote some things down, and now looking back, like it was a great move. It was a great move. I definitely wouldn't change it. I wouldn't want to be in this thing by myself, doing what we're doing. I don't think we would have as much of an impact as we have without either one of us. But yeah, that's why I have a partner. We just sort of vibe really well, and we were just like, let's give it a try.
Do you think you could be where you're at with the company if you would have done it by yourself?
Absolutely. I do, because I believe in myself so much. Absolutely. Do I think that it would have been much more difficult and I would have had to make different sacrifices? Yes. Right. Yes. And I think that with me and Blake doing it together, that's allowed us to sort of bounce stuff off each other, grow this thing to the level that we're growing it to, but not, I'm trying to think of the right word, not sort of lose ourselves in the process, right? Like, I know how it is to start something from scratch. When my wife and I started this gym, like we were in the trenches eating apples and eggs for dinner because this is what we were doing. And we really didn't have to really go through that with Lasso because there were two of us. Both of us were successful in another field. So it allowed us to really think and honestly always do what's best for the client, because even if it didn't work, we still had other ways that we were making a living. So could I have done it by myself? For sure. Am I glad that I didn't do it myself? Absolutely.
Because when I think of doing this podcast by myself, I mean, it just can't even get my head wrapped around it. I had Matt Souza kind of push me. I had my wife kind of push me. I had some old employees at CrossFit Inc. push me, and then now there's these two other guys just jumped in, just random dudes from the web, like this dude Caleb running the shit from the back. I don't know this dude. This is just some Air Force dude who like a couple months ago reached out to me and was like, I'll help. And then, you kind of go through, you dance, you go through the vetting process. You like see how they text, you see how they email. I didn't even know he was going to come around and run the back end this morning. Like run the show and put up clips and like, you with your family. It's nuts. It's nuts when you're in the flow. And so that's why I was wondering, like, but having partners scares the crap out of me. My whole life, I always had partners. That's why and I'm not comfortable with calling this thing the Sevon podcast. I wasn't comfortable ever even having my face on screen. But this is just like, hey, face all these fears and just jump in and just go.
Yeah. No, again, I was definitely hesitant. About having a partner, and I was totally honest with him because I had never had a partner. I was like, man, I'm used to doing things my way. I'm used to, like if something, like if it drops, like it's on me. But we talked it out, and like I said, we had a relationship over the years, and we were like, man, let's just, like, what's the worst that could happen? We could try this thing, and then it doesn't work, and it's totally fine, right? Like then maybe go out and do it on our own. But like I said, it's been a great relationship, man. It's been great.
I'm gonna bullet through things.
Okay.
Bear with me. Would you do college loans again?
No.
Wow. But how would have things been different? Like, did you meet your wife in college?
I did.
Oh man, but no, you wouldn't do college loans again. You wouldn't. Are you going to pay for your kids to go to college?
Yes.
Just pay cash like my mom
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Yeah, man, you're a good dad. When you make these posts about showing that you paid off your student loans, what do you hope? Like, let's just say that everything we post on Instagram is just bragging, and it's stuff that we want the Joneses. Like, if I show that I bought a new car and it's a new Suburban, it cost me $110,000. I'm basically letting everyone know they should do that too. Or if I show someone that I'm high on ecstasy at a rave, I'm telling everyone, hey, you should do that too. What
Yep.
are you? Is that what you're doing? You're posting that and being like, look how happy I am. I'm debt free, but it's kind of a healthy disease you're trying to spread.
Yeah. So
Healthy.
I'm gonna take 2 minutes to talk about this. We're not gonna make a bullet through
Yes.
this like quick. All right.
Yep.
So when I grew up, like I said, again, single mom, low income, poverty, all of that. When I grew up, the only way for a few years there, I thought the only way I could be successful is if I played with some type of ball to make millions, or I was an entertainer, because that's the only people that were African American like me that were uber successful, or were the ones on TV that played a sport, or they were entertainers. Um, and then I got some mentors early and figured out like I could do, there's other things you can do. So now for me, I want kids to see, all kids, but especially kids that look like me, to see, hey, like there's nothing wrong with dribbling a ball. Like there's nothing wrong with playing sports or being entertainer, but like understand that that is not that is not how more than likely you're going to take care of your family, right? And there's guys out there that run successful businesses. So let me tell you a little story. Just the other day, a few days ago, we like to joke around that like our front yard is sort of like Sesame Street, sort of like the United Nations. We have I'll go out in the front yard. We have a Asian kid, Indian kid, black kid, white kid, Indian kid. I was like what are the just kids being kids having a great time, right? But there was a kid other day was over here, happened to be a black kid, and I don't know how we started talking about it. He made comment. He was like, "Well, the only people that are rich are white people." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What did you say?" He was like, "Well, like who do you see with the big homes and the nice cars?" And when he said that, like I talked to him a little bit, but I was like, "This is what motivates me to post this stuff about my life." Some people take it as bragging, but for me, I want kids and folks to see like you can do whatever you want to do, and you can do it the right way. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin, where you come from, how you grew up. You can do it. There's people out there doing it, but so many people. What happens is most people when they become successful, they sort of fly under the radar, and you have to. I get that, but if we don't ever talk about what's possible, then we have another generation of kids like I did, just grew up thinking like, hey, it's a professional athlete or a multi Grammy award winning entertainer or bust, right? It's either I'm going to be in the NBA or I'm going to work at Walmart warehouse. There's nothing wrong with working at Walmart warehouse. I want to be clear about that. But I'm just saying, like, those are the two,
Right.
that's the two ends of the spectrum. Either I'm going to
Right.
do this or I'm going to do this. There's no like,
Right.
hey, you know what? I'm going to build a business that's going to do well for my family, and it's going to take care of my kids, and my kids are probably going to work in this business that I built up. So that's why I talk about this type of stuff right here, because I know a ton of people of all races and creeds with a ton of student loans. So for me, when I post that stuff, like I hope that someone will reach out to me and say, how'd you do that? Then we can talk about it. So I can let them see like it's possible. Like it will suck at times. There were times it sucked. Everyone likes a cool story. Like, oh, 203 grand in 27 months. If I do the math, that's about 7-8 grand a month. Oh, well, look, obviously you must make a ton of money if you can do that every single month. Well, let's not talk about that, right? Like that's neither here nor there. With your income and your debt, are you paying even $100 a month on your debt? No, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Well, you're not even doing anything. So don't talk about what someone else is doing. You got to do the small stuff first, and then it just sort of snowballs, for lack of a better term, and then you start doing things that you can do. So for me, absolutely, like I could really care less what people think, but I want people to know, like, hey, it's possible, right? Like it is possible to do all of these things that you dreamed of. Yes, it will be hard. It's funny. My wife and I were putting away something the other day. We're trying to find, I don't know, social security card or something, and we found our W-2 from like 9 years ago. It was my wife, My wife wasn't working at the time. She had finished work taking care of the kids. And we had the 2 young kids. We didn't have the third one. And we saw our W-2 and it was for like $35,000. Family of 4. Like that's the stuff that like
that won't even pay your taxes now.
Exactly, right? like people don't
Yeah,
even like that's stuff people don't even think about or really talk about because that's not the cool stuff, right? But when I saw that, I was like, man, look how far we've come in such a short amount of time. You know, and like that's what I tell people. Like, if you really want something, are you willing to go in the cave for 5 to 7 years? If you're willing to go in the cave for 5 to 7 years with your family, you're gonna come out with pretty much everything that you're willing to work for. Most people aren't willing to do that though. Like they're just not. 5 years is too long. Like, what do you mean? No vacation, no fun, right? Like, no, like for 5 years, there's none of that. And then
what if we also told them this, Sherman? You never get there.
So here's my thing.
So that's the crazy thing. People like us, like we know it's basically all we're doing. And I'm open to being wrong if you have a different mindset than me. We're basically just mitigating disaster. Yeah. Like we don't want to be caught. What did you say? What Warren Buffett? We don't want to be caught with the tide out and everyone see us that we're skinny dipping.
Yeah.
So, man, for those of you who don't have kids, now's the time, man. Put your head down and grind.
So here's the thing. I don't believe that anyone, like, I think this is America. I think anyone can reach specific goals. I think that some people have goals that like you're not going to, like, you're probably not going to make $50 million a year. Like, that's probably not going to happen. But if you have realistic goals, and realistic, you have to really sit down and look at, like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, these type of things. Most people can reach whatever goals they really set for themselves. Like I strongly believe.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I strongly believe
that. Right. I agree. By not get there, I mean, Joe Rogan's not happy that he has the biggest podcast in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. I'm sure he's fucking happy, but it's not like he still has an itch. Your itch never goes away.
Yeah.
It never goes away. When I was homeless, I got that job, $7 an hour working at a home for disabled adults. I used my money to buy a video camera, and I carried that video camera everywhere I went for basically 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I just interviewed people nonstop, and I made and I plugged in computers into cigarette lighters in cars and slept in cars overnight for years, editing late at night. And I didn't have a goal, but I was on a mission and I had a habit. And I would have never thought that 30 years of interviewing people would bring me to having the discussion with Sherman Merricks.
Yeah.
From the comfort of his home. And it paid off. I didn't even know where I was going.
Yeah.
But I put my head down, and now this thing, I just saw, with 350,000 downloads on iTunes last week alone. Like, the thing's it's just crazy. But also, once again, when we started 6 months ago, it wasn't like that. It was 500 downloads. It was depressing.
Oh man. Yeah. I truly believe that people want what's best for them, but I think that so many people are just distracted with so much noise out there, right? Like, I see some of you people in the comments, someone said, I'm a teacher, just paid off my car, pay additional money off my mortgage each month. Feels great. Like, that's the type of
feels
stuff,
so good.
Like, that's the type of stuff that, like, fires me up, man. Right? Like, that's the kind of stuff that fires me up, because I know that, look, single father of 3 talking to his kids, like, that's the stuff that fires me up, because the freedom that his girls are going to have, this teacher's going to have, like, down the road, it's probably not going to be freedom like today, right? Like,
right.
Anything that's very hard, like you talked about, when you're sleeping in the car, like, that's not the fun part.
No.
The fun part isn't paying off your car early, investing in your
that sucks doing stuff. That. Yeah.
Like, that's not the fun part. The fun part is when you get to the other side and you finally get to check that off and you reach that goal. Now everyone says, oh, it must be nice. And you're like, absolutely, it is nice. I made the sacrifice for it to be nice. Yes, it is nice. And you can have it too if you're willing to sacrifice and work for it.
And when you do 2 years of what you did, paying it off ends up not even being the great thing. You have, like, you built some insane habits and discipline in that 2 years, huh?
Yeah, it's not even, like eventually, like I had one of my best friends tell me when I told him, because I'm one of those people, once I want something, I tell people to hold myself accountable. And my buddy, he's a little bit older. I was like, man, I'm gonna do it. He was like, you've already done it. He was like, if you just told me you're gonna do it, you really bought in. He was like, you're gonna do it. He was like, it's already done. He was like, now get to work and do it. He was like, but it's already done. And I was like, what do you mean? And now, like when I paid it off and made that last payment and called him and we celebrated, he was like, what do you mean? Like, I told you 27 months ago, like it was already done because you decided. And that's the thing. Like my wife, man, my biggest supporter, like she says stuff to me and I'm just like, do you really think that's possible? She's like, what do you mean? Like, you don't see it? I'm like, no, I don't see it. But my wife sees things in me that like semi scared
Yes.
me, right? And I'm just like,
Yes. It's
man,
crazy.
this is crazy. But yeah,
That's
like,
so odd. That made me so happy to hear that. I always wonder that every person I interview, that's one of the questions I always write down on the paper. Who believed in you? Who believes in you? Man, if you can get one person to believe in you, and I know that's not, I know we're supposed to believe in ourselves, but man, my wife believes in me and it's nuts. So does my mom. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I'm about to say I have my wife, have some great friends about my wife, my mom, my sister. Like I know,
Yeah,
like
my
I
sister believes in me like crazy too. It's nuts.
just like, man, this is it, right? Like I can do anything. I freaking walk to the moon if I had to. Like they'll believe I
Yeah.
can do it.
Sherman, what these are some things I wrote down, and I would love for you to add some things to this list. Practical things that you can do to save money. And I just thought of this one. One of the things I have 100 fruit trees, and when I was balling, I didn't eat any of my own fruit. I gave it away. I let it fall on the ground. Now I pick all my fruit. And even when I was in college to save money, I would walk around my neighborhood in California and pick fruit to save money. I would just pick tons of fruit because there's times of the year where there's so much fruit in California just falling on sidewalks.
Huh.
Stop drinking. I don't go to other people to save money. I don't go to other people's weddings. I don't feel obligated to buy people presents. I cut back on I told you I canceled my SiriusXM membership. I cut back on the expensive dog food. I don't buy coffee when I go out anymore. I turn off my computer at night to save money on electricity. I make sure all the lights are out. If I don't need 3 light bulbs and a lamp and I need to save money, I unscrew 2 of them. So like that room, when you turn on the light, all 3 lights don't go on. My wife doesn't have a wedding ring. Don't drink alcohol. Do you have any like practical things that people could just like start today and be like, okay, I'm going to save money doing that?
Yes. So like I'm gonna give you one thing that is going to. So the one thing, if I had to pick one that they're going to do, is going to get on a zero-based budget.
Okay.
And if they don't know what a zero-based budget is, just Google it. Google zero-based budget and do your finance. If they do their finances like that, that will give them more freedom than they had in years. Because when you know where every dollar is going, and I don't think necessarily, I don't think that once you get to a certain income level, you necessarily have to know where every dollar is going. But while you're trying to pay off debt and do other things, you need to be on a zero-based budget because every dollar is important. You need to know where every dollar is going so that you're not wasting money on coffee if you really don't have money for it, or you're not, buying gifts if you really can't afford gifts. So living on a strict budget, that's the big one. Get on a strict budget.
Thank you, Caleb. Zero-based budgeting is a method of budgeting in which all expenses must be justified for each new period. The budgets are then built around what is needed for the upcoming period, regardless of whether each budget is higher or lower than the previous one. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what I just read. What's the summary of that? Basically, don't spend more than you make every month.
Yes. Yes. And you basically have to do your budget each month before the money comes in, right? So if hey, I make $4,000 per year, $4,000 per month, you're gonna budget all of that out to where your expenses and everything you're gonna spend gonna equal to zero, right? Your savings and everything.
I had you on the show early on, huh?
Yeah, you did early on.
And then were you also on the CrossFit podcast with me?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have three. I didn't even touch any of this stuff that I wanted to talk about generational wealth more. I wanted to talk about dressing as a black man versus a white man. I wanted to talk about this. We touched on a little bit about what people think they're capable of doing based on their ethnicity or race. I want to talk about mentors and mentees. I didn't even get to talk about your gym. I wanted to talk about the whole last 2 years of your gym and just the. So I guess I have a pretty crazy couple weeks coming up with Wadapalooza. I'm going to milk that for everything it's worth to increase my viewership.
Yeah,
I mean, because I love the sport of CrossFit, and then I'll circle back around with you, and we got to have you back on. I want to talk about David. What's the guy's name? David Ramsey.
Oh yeah, Dave Ramsey. Yeah.
Is that the guy? Should people be looking into him?
Absolutely, Dave Ramsey's the man. He's the man.
Yeah, you give him a lot of love.
I do.
But I'm off to deal with my to face my uncomfortable day. I'm gonna go put a mask on.
Well, yeah, circle back around this conversation. We didn't even get to the good stuff either. So
no, what is the good stuff? Tell me, what's the good stuff?
Generational wealth.
Yes. Okay.
Like that's a big one because that really, that's a whole nother conversation right there in and of itself. It really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sherman Merricks with an S. Everything else is spelled just how you would think. It's at Sherm5, SHERM5. He's the owner of Dynasty CrossFit in Gainesville, Florida. He's also owner and CEO of Lasso Frameworks, along with his buddy Blake. And there was one more thing. Oh, the Matrimony and Money podcast. Check him out on iTunes. I listened to 2 episodes last night. Very good. Oh, wait. One more thing. You stopped doing that. The last episode's in February of 23rd.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back. So what happened?
Bring that back. That is so good.
Listen, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I got to focus. So I was like, until I pay off the debt, I'm not doing it. But I am bringing it back in 2022.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have my wife on with me more as well. She tried to fly under the radar too much, but I gotta have her on. Like if I had her on my podcast more, I could probably have 300,000 downloads a week too. But she's always flying on the radar. I need it to be us.
I can't even end the broadcast. Can you do that, Caleb? Like none of my buttons are working. You're the man. Thanks, dude.